Hey y'all, hope y'all are doing good. Thank you for tuning in. This is the 2024 preseason preview and prediction for the Texas Longhorns. Man, Texas had a great year last year. Only lost one regular season game, and then they won the Big 12 championship, and then they were just a play or two away from playing in the national championship. This was a team that was led by Quinn Ewers. They had a bunch of good playmakers on offense and had some really big key playmakers on defense. A team that brings back a lot of talent, but they've lost a lot of talent too. But still, on paper, they're really, really good football team. A top 5 football team, in my opinion, preseason wise, anyway. So this team offensively last year was the 9th ranked offense in the country, averaged 478 yards a game. Like I said earlier, they're bringing back Quinn Ewers. He had 3,500 yards last year, 22 TDs. This guy's a leader, great game manager. He doesn't turn the football over really much. He takes care of the football. He gets those guys lined up in the right position. He's just a great general on the football field. And the second thing that I want to talk about is this offensive line. They're bringing back a good offensive line. They're bringing back 3 starters from last year, highlighted by Kelvin Banks Jr. This guy's going to be drafted high in the NFL draft. He's one of the best tackles in football, and he's going to be protecting Quinn Ewers' backside at left tackle. And I think Quinn Ewers will tell you he'd rather have somebody like that coming back than even a skill player, because keeping this guy healthy and keeping him upright all season long is a main priority for this coaching staff. So having Kelvin Banks Jr. is a huge deal. Running back wise, you got Jaden Blue, C.J. Baxter. Both those guys combined for over 1,000 yards last year. You are losing Jonathan Brooks, who was a 1,000 yards rusher last year. But bringing those 2 guys back is a huge relief, I know, for Texas fans, because not only did they carry the ball a lot last year and have that experience, but these guys were in the system. They know the check downs, they know the blitzes, all that key stuff that will win or lose you games. Now, one thing that's a concern, I just told you that you lost a 1,000 yards rusher in Jonathan Brooks, but you lose 3 of your leading receivers from last year. And that is going to be hard to replace. Texas did have the 6th best portal team as far as what they were signed. It was the 6th best in the country. And they went out here and got Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, and Silas Bolden. Now, Bond and Bolden had had around 700 yards receiving. Golden had over 400 yards receiving. So these guys have got a lot of experience. We'll see how Quinn Ewers is able to mesh with those guys, but on paper, that's a pretty good bunch of talent that has come in for the portal for them. So offensively, I honestly think that Texas will be as good or better than they were last year, honestly. Now, defensively, you lose a lot. You lose the Outland Award winner to Vondre Sweat. Then you lost Brian Murphy, who was the defensive lineman of the year. And then you lost also your linebacker, Jalen Ford, who was a 2-time All Big 12 defensive player. So those are really key pieces that you're losing. This was a defense last year that was 34th total in defense, but they were number 3 against the run, which is really good. Only gave up 82 yards in the ground a game. You are bringing back Anthony Hill. He was the leading tackler. Now they're going to move him from the weak side linebacker to middle linebacker. I think that's going to help a lot. You did bring in some pieces in the portal, but these guys you're bringing in are not as good as the guys that were going out. So Texas is going to be okay defensively, but they're not going to be elite defensively. So that is one concern that I have for Texas this year is defensively. That might cost you in some games this year. So we'll just have to see how that works. Now, let's go through this schedule. You play against Colorado State to open the season, August 31st. Colorado State, this is a team that won 5 games last year. This is the coach, Jay Norvell, who got into it with Deion Sanders last year. They shook hands. There was a lot of drama going on there. This will be his third season. They are showing improvement. They won 3 games his first year, 5 games the next year. This is a team that's hoping to maybe get to 6 wins. They are bringing back a lot of people, but Colorado State is not even close to being on Texas's level. Even if Texas plays a D- type game and they play an A+ game, Texas is still going to win. So there is a W in week 1. Now, this is a game I've struggled with because this could be a huge trap game because everybody is picking Texas to beat Michigan in week 2. Everybody is saying that they've lost J.J. McCarthy, they've lost Jim Harbaugh, they lose Corum. I mean, there's just no way that Michigan can beat Texas, and that's all they're going to hear. So they're going to have a major chip on their shoulder. But here's why I think Texas beats Michigan. Michigan has no true quarterback that has even, in what I've heard, it's even won the job yet for Michigan. Also, the offensive line is full of just portal guys that they're having to bring in and learn the system. Too many unanswered questions there for Michigan to win that game. Now, Michigan has an outstanding defense. They do return 2 really good running backs, but I just don't. There's too many unanswered questions. Even with this being at Michigan, I just don't think they can outscore Texas in this game. So I got you 2-0 now. Now, for the third game of the year, you play UTSA. Now, UTSA, they've had a quarterback there. It's been there several years, Frank Harris. He's finally gone. This is an 8 or 9 win team out of the American Conference. Very solid football team. It's one of those teams that doesn't have a lot of depth, but they have a lot of athletes, freak athletes that can make a lot of plays. Tennessee played them last year. We didn't have to play against Frank Harris. We took care of him pretty easy. I think Texas will do the same. Texas should win this game by 4 TDs, honestly. So I got you 3-0 against after the UTSA game. Then you play Louisiana Monroe in game 4. Now, Louisiana Monroe is just horrible. This is a rebuilding season. They got a new coach. Texas will win this game by as many points as they want. So now I've got you 4-0. Texas has a very favorable schedule. I know you have to play at Michigan, but as far as the SEC schedule, I think Texas has a very favorable schedule, unlike Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a much tougher schedule, SEC-wise. So now this takes me to the Mississippi State game, and this is the game 5. This is September 28th. Mississippi State is either the second or third worst team in the SEC this year. Jeff Lebby's in his first season. And Mississippi State just does not have the athletes to beat Texas. This is at Texas. No way in the world Mississippi State I can't even tell you one player on Mississippi State's team. That just shows you. I mean, there's no star power there. They don't have the depth. They don't have the talent to beat Texas. Mississippi State's going to have a long season. So I got you 5-0. Now here comes the open day, and here is the Oklahoma game in the Red River rivalry. And honestly, I think Texas is the better team. They should want revenge. But I honestly think Oklahoma gets you here. I do. Oklahoma, they kind of match up pretty good with you. Oklahoma is not great defensively. That front 5 is not great, or front 4, whatever. But on the back half there, they've got a good secondary, good linebacking core. And I think Oklahoma too, one of their weaknesses is their offensive line. Well, Texas's defensive line, I don't think it's going to be great this year. So I think Jackson Arnold's going to have time to throw. I think by that point in the year, it'll be week 6 of the football season, week 7. I think by that time, the offensive line will be a little bit better. Jackson Arnold, who is a 5-star recruit, very talented. I think at this point, he'll be kind of hitting his stride. I've got Oklahoma upsetting you guys, but you'll be 5-1. And I've got Oklahoma upsetting you. I think you're looking ahead a week to Georgia, and I think Oklahoma sneaks up and bites you. Now, don't cuss me out, Texas fans, just yet, because I've got you The following week, playing Georgia. Georgia will probably be the number one team in the country at that point. And I've got you guys beating Georgia at home. I think you take a big step forward. Huge, huge game. It's going to be probably a night game in Austin. And I have this as a shootout. Now, Georgia is elite offensively and defensively. I think Texas makes enough plays at home to get it done. It's going to be a huge advantage you guys have in this game at home. It's going to be a huge advantage, probably a 10 to 14 point advantage having this game at home. It's going to be hard to communicate, and I think Texas is talented enough to pull this upset off. At a neutral site or at Georgia, no way. But I got you guys beating Texas at home, or I got you guys beating Georgia at home. So now, after beating Georgia, you're 6-1. You play Vanderbilt in Week 8. Obviously, you're going to beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is the worst team in the SEC. So pick the score you want in that game. You will beat Vanderbilt very, very badly. So at that point, you were 7-1. And now I got you guys playing Florida. There's 3 teams in the SEC that I think their coaches are just going to be fired at some point in the season. Not even at the end of the season. I think they get fired during the season. And you play 2 of those teams. You play Arkansas and you play Florida. Florida, Billy Napier, he's going to be fired sometime in this season. And not all of it's even his fault. The schedule is absolutely brutal. You get them in Week 9 at home, and this is going to be right after they play Georgia. Georgia, anytime anybody plays Georgia will tell you it's a very, very physical game. It's hard to play those guys. It's hard to play anybody the next week because Georgia's just so physical. So I would have Texas winning this game even if you didn't play Georgia the week before. It's a home game. They're going to be beat up. Texas is better. Everything, and I think at this point too, I think a lot of people from Florida are going to be calling for Billy Napier's head at this point too. So I think at this point you're going to kind of see Florida kind of on a downward slide. So I got you guys beating Florida 8-1. Then you come back and you play the other coach and the other team. Well, I think their coach is on his way out, Arkansas, in Week 10. Sam Pittman, he may even be fired at this point. He may not. Bobby Petrino may be even the acting coach at this point. So I think you go to Arkansas. Obviously, you get that win. Arkansas, the very bottom half of the SEC this year, they lose KJ Jefferson. They lost Rocket Sanders. They don't have any players really left over from the last couple seasons that were even really difference makers for those guys. So got you guys easily winning that, even though that's at Arkansas. So you're 9-1. Then I got Kentucky here in Week 11 coming to Austin. Kentucky, I got you beating Kentucky. Kentucky is one of those teams that they like to control the clock. They're like the slowest team in football as far as just slow. They're like a tortoise. They're like Iowa. They just like to walk up to the line, run the ball, drain the clock. They do play good defense. They got a great front 7, front 5, whatever, linebackers, defensive line, really good, solid football team. But Kentucky's not going to beat Texas at Texas. They're just not. They can't put up enough points with the playmakers that Texas has. Kentucky would have to play a perfect game. I don't think they do that. So I got you guys 10-1. Now, I told you guys not to get mad at me a moment ago. Now you're going to get mad at me again because this is the last game of the year. This is a rivalry that's being renewed at A&M. A&M is going to shock a lot of people this year. They actually got a coach that knows what he's doing. They went out and got the coach from Duke. He's a really good coach. He won games at Duke. You know how hard that is to do? He's very knowledgeable. He was at A&M before, so he knows the people there. He knows the culture. I have A&M beating you guys in the last game of the year at A&M. Now, I know I've been wrong before. I may be wrong here, but I have a feeling that A&M is going to get you in Week 12, and you're going to end the year at 10-2. So Texas, I still think that's good enough to get you in the playoffs at 10-2. I do, but I think you guys go 10-2. You have a great year. I know it's not as good as the year was before, but you played a much tougher schedule. you actually wasn't playing Kansas and Texas Tech and Nebraska. Now Nebraska's the Big Ten, but you know what I mean. You get the point. Much tougher schedule. So anyway, I got you guys going 10-2. I think Texas is a really good football team, and that's your preview for the Texas Longhorns. Thank y'all for tuning in.